You guys, I know that I cannot be the only one out there that is just ultra disappointed in this season, but you know what? We're all in this together. We're almost to the end of this thing and we're gonna make it through. It really just feels like there's like no action in this game, which is especially hard to watch for me as a YouTuber because then I have to come on here and figure out what to talk about when there's really not much. But it's okay, I still got y'all. We're gonna get through episode 11, but before I get started, of course, I'm gonna ask if you would please hit that subscribe button. It would also really mean a lot to me if y'all would give this video a like too, just because it helps my channel grow with the algorithm. And now that all of that housekeeping is out of the way, let's get started. So this episode kicks off with everybody, of course, coming back to camp and talking about the last vote. But I do really want to focus more on Rizzo here because we got a lot of his point of view. First, he reveals that he initially used that fake idol just to sort of fake Kristina out to get her to use hers, which he really didn't need to do. But ultimately, that ended up being a very nice moment for him from the jury standpoint, mainly just because it was really entertaining and it showed him showboating around, which I'm sure is nice. But he also does have a final 3 quote here, which I thought was interesting just because it really does seem like him, Savannah, and Sophie are all just like pushing their way to the end together.
And the jury ate it up, and it really felt like a monumental stepping stone. If I can somehow make it to one of those final 3 seats, I'd have a really good case of winning this game.
Plus, the fact that he still has that idol is good news for now. But at the same time, there is still the final 4 fire making, and a lot of y'all in the comments on my last video were predicting that Rizzo could go home in the final 4. So Survivor choosing to purposely put this in the edit here could be their way of foreshadowing, or it could also be a classic Survivor red herring. We're just gonna have to see. Now, in the beginning of this episode, we also hear Blue Sophie talking about possibly turning on Savannah and Rizzo soon, because it seems like she's really feeling like she's at the bottom of this trio. And honestly, I kind of feel that way too. So really throughout this whole episode, we're gonna hear these clips of Sophie teasing the idea of coming for Savannah over and over again. But honestly, every time it happens, I have a really hard time believing it. And definitely don't get me wrong, because I would absolutely love for this to be true, right? Like Sophie turning on them here could be the thing that easily saves this whole season. But just based on how we've seen Sophie play so far, I just didn't believe that she would actually be able to do it. Even though that is probably the thing that she would need to do in order to win, I do understand it being scary for her because they have had her back and had her in the numbers the whole time. So if she turns on them then really who does she have to have her back? So yeah, I just totally understand Sophie's hesitation here, but who I did not understand at all was Sage. I mean, Sage has been coming after Savannah pretty much the entire season, throughout most of it at least. She has tried to get her out multiple times. She has called her a mean girl multiple times. I mean, the show has really been setting up the Savannah versus Sage rivalry since like episode 3. But now it's like Sage has completely flipped and now she wants to get Sophie out instead as revenge for Jawan. And this whole thing just didn't make any sense to me because it's like, yeah, Sophie is totally a flip-flopper. She's really not on anybody's side. So you can't really trust her for real, similar to Alex in the position he was in. But at the same time, just like Alex, Sophie is alone in that game. She really doesn't have anybody to have her back for real, whereas Savannah has 2 other people really sticking behind her. And you know that one of those people has an idol on top of that. I mean, come on now. So it's like, yes, Sophie's a threat, Savannah's a threat, but it's 1 person over here and 3 people over here. And like, you know, you can do the math and figure out what's the best thing to do. So right off the bat, I'm already a little frustrated from the beginning of this episode because I can kind of see where this is going. But now it's time for everybody to choose 1 person to go on this next journey. And to me, this was really kind of the highlight of the episode. I don't know, I guess I just kind of like the idea of this challenge, and I thought all of those beautiful shots that they did of the rocks were just gorgeous and cinematic and all that. Honestly, this is just the type of challenge that I would really love to do on Survivor. You know, I love long distance running, I love hiking, I love being super physically active and getting exercise. I would not love doing all that after 20 days of starvation and exhaustion, but that's beside the point. Now, Steven is the only one to volunteer to do this because they used the word strenuous in the notes, which scared the shit out of everybody. And I definitely don't blame everybody for being a little bit hesitant to do a super physically demanding task this late in the game. But at the same time, it does kind of make me wonder, like, if they did not choose the word strenuous, or if they didn't include that in the clue, then will we get an entirely different outcome? Probably. Now, Steven ends up doing a fantastic job in this challenge. I mean, he really kills it, and I'm gonna give him a shout out because that did look super duper tough, especially after 20 days of being out there. And his prize for doing all of this was a block of vote, which I don't know if it's just me. Let me know if y'all agree. But is that like a super light advantage for all that shit he had to do? And like, I don't know, maybe it is totally fair. But all I'm saying is, in the same universe where Rachel pretty much finds an idol hidden in her french fries, they're also making Steven do all of this just for a block of vote. And of course, not every season is created equally. That's just my observation. Like the way Sophie was complaining about the fruit, I would be complaining about this block of vote if I was Steven. Now, Steven does end up telling everybody that he won an advantage, but he doesn't tell everybody what it is, which I thought was super smart. I just love the fact that he was able to pretty much tell the truth, but still kind of deceive and manipulate at the same time. I think that's the way to do it. So why not? Right? Like, why not just freak people out and keep their heads spinning? I love that. But I will say this. If I was Kristina, who just wasted a freaking idol on him, I would absolutely be hounding him and guilt tripping him for all the information. And we didn't really see Kristina question him on the show about this. That doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. But still, Kristina just doesn't give me that she's a super strategic game player, so I just wouldn't be surprised if she didn't. All I'm saying is that if I were her, there's no way in hell I'm just letting you passively keep the secret from me after I just tried to save your ass. Not happening. Next up, the players all go to the next immunity challenge, which is this balance competition that we've pretty much seen a very similar version of in the past, so nothing new there. And we see that Steven ends up winning this immunity as well, making this just a fantastic episode for him, so good job, Steven. And we see him choose Rizzo to go with him on the reward here, which Steven didn't necessarily say was strategic, but I do think it was a good idea that he went ahead and broke up that little trio. Now, during this reward dinner, this is where we're gonna hear Rizzo really start to throw out Yellow Sophie's name in order to protect his little trio. And like I was saying earlier, there is no way in hell that this should be working because Sophie is only one person and Savannah really has three. And like, don't get me wrong, because part of this probably is Sophie's fault for being such a flip-flopper and playing in the middle in the first place, because I've personally always believed that the middle is the most dangerous place to play in games like this for reasons like this specifically. A friend to everyone is really a friend to no one, and if you're not on anyone's side, then you might not have anybody to back you up when the time comes. So the show is trying to frame it like it's Sophie versus Savannah, and they even have the nerve to frame it like Blue Sophie is the one that's stuck in the middle. But again, I just never believed that for a second. Like, if anybody were to be in the middle of this vote, it would probably be Sage, right? So for all of those reasons, combined with the way that this episode was just edited in general, heading into Tribal Council, I really did not think that this was going to be Savannah's time to go. She has just been framed to be the big bad all season, and if she really were to leave here, I feel like this episode would have been a little bit more climactic or dramatic or whatever you want to call it. Tribal Council itself was pretty boring as per usual. The only really interesting thing that happened was that there was that little bit of bickering between Savannah and Kristina, but even then, nothing was too dramatic or messy there. It was really all a bunch of fake smiles the whole time. And when the votes are read, we see that every single person voted for Sophie to leave, which was honestly just very disappointing. Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely knew that was going to be the outcome, but having it be unanimous is crazy. There's just no reason why Steven, Kristina, and Sage should all be on that trio side at this point. So now we're at a point where I'm going to feel like a broken record because I say this every single episode, but we have the trio still in the game with 2 advantages amongst them. And with all of this happening, it really doesn't seem like they're going anywhere anytime soon unless they start to turn on each other, which if that were to happen, it seemed like this would be the episode for it to happen, but it obviously didn't. So now, like, my hope in this season is just going down and down and down. Right now, I really only see one of the three in this trio winning, which I definitely hope I'm wrong for the sake of entertainment, but that's just what this edit has been leaving me to believe, like, all season long. Plus also the fact that Savannah and Rizzo are on Survivor 50, I cannot ignore that too. So out of the three of them, I am back to thinking that Sophie is the least likely to win, just because it doesn't seem like the jury is going to respect her game as much as the others. And that's mainly based on the fact that she hasn't made any big resume moves, she doesn't have too many receipts, and since she's not been targeted pretty much at all, I just don't think anybody really sees her as a threat. It's really a toss-up with Rizzo and Savannah because on one hand, Savannah is being edited to be like the main character of the season, but we see that a lot of people in the jury just do not like her at all. Plus the fact that Survivor usually doesn't tend to give their winners as villainous of an edit as Savannah has been getting. And Rizzo is a player who's just getting stronger and stronger each episode to me. Like, he is now a very serious contender to me, but it does still seem like people are more threatened / impressed by Savannah. So if Rizzo does make it to the end with Savannah, will he be able to beat her? I just don't know. So I guess I will just keep on going with Savannah as my #1 pick despite her edit, but it is a really close call. So of course I want to know, what do you all think of the gameplay so far? And more importantly, who do you think is going to win it all? Let me know in the comments below. I just have such little hope left for the season, but it's almost over. So of course I'm going to finish it strong. We're going to see. Maybe Steven can do something flashy with his advantage. I don't know. It really seems very unlikely at this point, but hey, we got to keep hope alive, right? So of course I will be back here next week to recap the penultimate episode with you all. But until then, bye.